Welcome to another episode of Dr. Lex. This is where I do some short tutorials based on some comments that you've left under some of my videos. Enjoy! This is a comment by Fight the Words.
One question I'd like to know though, is how to turn the floppiness on in Paint Fleck Tweak menus. Have they changed it? It's off and I can't figure out how to turn it on. It would be great for making cloth.
Right, okay, so we're in paint mode. I'm going to draw myself some cloth. Actually, let's do that again. That wasn't very good. Let's do it again. I'm going to draw myself some cloth. Like a skirt or something. There we go. There's my cloth. I go into the tweak menu, so that's L1 and square. Go to properties. Click on the toggle to make this physical. Now, as I move my cloth, it is moving like so. I can increase the floppiness and I can decrease the floppiness so it doesn't move hardly at all. There we go. And we can also put in some wind effects, and you can change the direction here. Now, I haven't done this tweak menu as a gadget tutorial yet, which I will be getting around to. But they haven't moved it. I think probably what is happening is you're playing about with the floppiness here and you're not toggling on physical. That might be why you're not getting any effects. But anyway, there you go. That's the floppiness tool, wind strength. You can change the ripple style and the flap frequency, etc. But that's how you make something that looks like cloth, like a billowing curtain or something. This is a comment from Elias Santos.
I'm trying to make footprints only emit on certain surfaces, when you step on mud for example. How could I do something like that? Thanks.
Okay, so I've got my footprint that I've painted here. And here is my puppet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to emit a footprint by sticking an emitter into his microchip. So I'll put an emitter in. And we're going to set that to no speed, no time between limits. Once we're going to give our footprints, I don't know, 1.5 seconds before they disappear. Infinite amount emitted, maximum limit, we'll just leave that as infinite. And we'll select our footprint, and then we're going to move our footprint in between his feet. If you were going to do this properly, you would have one for each foot, 2 emitters, and you would do it like so. So we got our puppet interface. Like I say, if you were doing it properly, you would have a left heel strike with emitting one type of footprint and right heel strike doing it. But I'm just going to do the whole foot. Any foot is going to go into that emitter, and it's going to send the footprint out. So let's have a look, see what that looks like. There we go. Right, so there we go. It's putting footprints. Now, as you can hear, I think, this piece of ground is set to be a different sound surface type than this bit of ground. So let's have a look at that. So this bit of ground here, if I go to sounds, I've set that to be liquid. And this one over here is set to be the default, which is sort of sounds like, I think it's the same as the dirt one. So there we go. You've got 2 different types with 2 different sections. Now, unfortunately, they haven't given us an output socket for the audio surface types. There's no way of telling what one has been selected. I think that's a mistake. I think we could do with an output for this so that we know what surface type has been selected. Bit of a shame. But anyway, so we can't use this to make a difference to our footprints. So we're going to have to do another method. So if we're going to go to labels, and I've labelled up my liquid piece of ground as machine, giving it a label. This one has got no label on it at all. So this one just says machine, and that's nothing. So now we're going to search and make sure that we're only standing on something that is a machine. So we're going to put in a trigger zone. And we're going to put in an AND gate as well. So in the trigger zone then, we're going to make that a little bit smaller. We'll detect it at his feet. There we go. So that's going to detect a label, and it's going to detect just things that are labelled as machine. And then we're going to say if we can detect it as a machine and our foot impact happens, then we're going to power on our emitter. So now when we do it, so I'm getting no footprints at all on this one. But if I jump over here, in our muddy area, now we're getting footprints. There we go. This is a comment from H2O Waters.
I tried to use this tutorial for a scene element or a Dreamerverse element to act as a click. By having the element go through a trigger zone that would then activate the variable. It doesn't make the counter go up like pressing X. I hope you understand. I'd like to emit an object through a hoop. And score it. Like basketball.
Right, I've got my basketball court set up. So I've got my hoop and my basketball. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to detect whether the ball is falling through the hoop in this direction. It won't score if it's coming up through the hoop in that direction, only if it's going downwards through the hoop, like so. So what I've got is I've got a trigger zone, which I have used a cylinder shape, and I've plopped that underneath the hoop. And the trigger zone is going to detect the basketball. I have wired directly from scene element to detect to the ball. You see it's flashing there, and I've chosen scene element up here in this section. Like so. So it's going to detect the ball coming down. Now I've added a movement sensor to the ball. So I want to detect whether or not it's moving up or down. So I'm going to wire the velocity of the y-axis to a calculator. Make sure your y is pointing up when you do this. So the calculator is looking to see if it's negative number, so less than 0. If it's a negative number, if it's moving in a negative with a negative signal, then that means it's moving down. So I've got an AND gate, so it's detecting whether it's gone through the trigger zone and it was moving down. And if both those are true, it is then going to power on our variable modifier. This is set to add 1 to the hoops variable. And our hoops variable is up here. I've named it hoops. I've set it as a 0 minimum. You'll have to set the maximum to whatever is suitable for your game. And here is a sound effect every time it does that. And we've got a number displayer added to the current value so I can see the score. Now this current value can then be wired to a score modifier and a score, and then posted at the appropriate time. So let me just put one in because I know people are going to get right. Where are the scores? I can't remember. Oh gosh, where are the scores? They're in here, aren't they? Yeah, there we go. Score and score modifier. So what you would do is you would put the current value into there, and you could continuously send that score to the score. So let's try that. As you can see, our variable is a 7 and our score is a 7. There we go. So you might have an accumulative round or something like that, in which case this is why you have a separate variable to your score variable. I think this is a much better way of doing it. This is just going to continuously modify our score all the time. So it's just setting that score from this variable. So this variable is the only one that's changing, and once you want to post your score, then you would wire into that and it will post the score that it's got inside it. I'm not going to go into the scoring and how scoring works because I've done tutorials on that before. So there we are. You just wire it to a score modifier and then that posts it to a score. Let's just delete it for now. So there we go. So we've got our basketball. Let's do it again like that. There we go. And that's passing through our basketball hoop and making a score, but it's not scoring as I come up. Now, if you wanted to use an emitted, let's say you were firing your basketball, emitting of that far with a cannon or something, and so you're emitting the basketball. Let's do that. And we'll get it so that it emits through down through there. Okay, let's turn it on. You'll notice nothing is working. That is because these emitted basketballs have no wires on them. So we need to go to inputs and outputs and click on emit with wires. And now it's working. So you're going to be producing a lot of wires, you see. They're all producing these wonderful wires. So when you're doing your emitting, don't have a lifetime. Don't have a lifetime of everything, and make sure you've set a maximum for your emitted and that sort of thing, and make sure you're recycling your objects. So there you go. The basketballs are disappearing. So you haven't got loads of wires all over the place. So there you go. Our next comment is from Brandon Lee Treverton.
Any idea as to how to increase the amount of keys? Say up to C6 instead of C5.
Right, music octaves then. Okay, so we've got our timeline. And we're going to put in a musical instrument. Like so. Now, there are two ways of putting musical notes into our instrument. So I'm going to open it up with L1 and X. We have our performance area. So these are the notes that are formed when you press on your D-pad, square, cross, triangle, and these are the ones that you get with the D-pad. So those are your notes. And it gives you an option between C and F on the next octave, so sort of 1.5 octaves. You get 8 notes. It depends actually what key you're in and how many octaves you get, but let's say one octave available in performance mode. So to change that octave, you can tip your controller now personally I find that incredibly annoying, and I quite often accidentally tip the controller. It takes a while to get used to and you end up getting into octaves that you don't want to. I don't like this at all, but that is a way of changing the octave. The other way is literally just to record the bit in one octave, stop, and then record the bit in the next octave and stop, and then do it that way. The other way is to use the piano roll, where you actually draw the notes onto the staves like so. So we'll draw some notes. But it looks as if you only have your option of this octave. And when you're in performance mode, you've only got your option of this octave, lower and higher. Actually, that isn't the whole story. Let's say you wanted in performance mode to be in a higher octave. We'll go L1 and square. And we'll go to pitch, and we can change our home octave here. So the home octave for the soft piano is set to 3 as default, but we can make it a lot higher. So we've now made it a 7. Now, if we was to go into, let's just move that out of the way. If we was to go into piano roll here, we're still seeing C4, C4, C3, C4, and C5. But if I was to record something at this higher octave, like that, and then had a look in piano roll, you'll see it's stretched itself. It's got a lot bigger, and all these notes are up here in the correct octave range for what we chose. So if you can choose your home octave here then and play about in performance mode. But if you were, let's just rewind that and get rid of that. But if you are making things in piano roll mode and you want to get those higher notes, you can stretch the canvas to get the same effect. So you see you get these two, you get this double-headed arrow, press X and pull up. There we go. And I think, yeah, C9 is the highest it will go. Let's get down to the bottom and stretch it out the bottom. And C0 is the lowest it will go. So that's your entire range there for the piano roll. That's the massive amount of notes that you have available to you, and that's the maximum. So there you go. So you can change the octave here. You can change the octave in performance mode by tipping the controller, and you can also change it by adding more to your piano roll so that you've got extra notes you can put in all over the place. Okay. Right, that was Dr. Lex number 2. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you've got any queries or tutorial suggestions, please leave them in the comment section of my videos. I can't guarantee that I will be able to do a video for everybody's comment, but I'll try and answer as many as I can if I know the answer. I'm not a font of all knowledge, and I don't know the answer to every single question I'm asked, but I will experiment and try and find out if I can. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.